So we've uncovered, like, obviously, like there's patterns here. Let's talk about some specific patterns that show up for so many high achievers, because these are subtle. They're often socially accepted, but they are absolutely sabotaging when they are left unchecked. And once you see them, they don't change on their own. And that's why I've talked to so many people. They know their patterns, they know where their blocks are, but it's like, if knowing it was enough, you would have already kind of changed and been showing up differently in your life, right? So they don't change on their own, but that's what this work can guide you with. Okay, you can start to shift them, and as you do that, then you do show up differently. You do begin to see a different life and path unfold for you. So as I walk you through these, just check in with your own experience, and you can share which, pattern 1, 2, or 3, or any combination or all resonate with you as we're done or as we go through them. So, these are just patterns, and I've had a ton of these too. So pattern 1 is hustle conditioning. This one's big. You've been trained. And I mean, it's so funny because it's like, we all can see how there was like that whole like boss babe, hustle and grind kind of phase that was, I don't know, however many years ago, right? And everybody was all embracing that. And then isn't it interesting how after that it was like the whole like self-care phase. And like we couldn't see the difference that like we had all burn ourselves the F out, and then we like needed it. Like there was no choice. Like we all like embraced the one, and then we had to do the next one instead of like trying to find some kind of a balance. So we've been trained maybe since childhood to believe that success has to be earned through effort, exhaustion, overperformance, that if you're not working, maybe you're, wasting time, right? Rest is lazy, ease is suspicious. And that what you do generates your worth. And this is especially common if you grew up with a lot of responsibility early on. So maybe you were like parentified or something like that, or you learned that love and attention were tied to how well you performed. Okay. And so Dale's saying this is not him, but we'll get to other patterns that you'll probably resonate here. And that's okay. These don't have to all be you. And we see this play out as like guilt when you're not being productive, overcomplicating simple decisions because you feel like they have to be hard. Feeling like slowing down means you'll lose momentum or fall behind. Okay, that misunderstanding with the concept of time even. So in my book, I wrote that I had internalized that my value came from my output. If I wasn't doing, I wasn't worthy. Okay. Can anybody relate to that? I know it's not everybody's story, but does that? Wendy's got her hand up. Yep. So that leads us to the next pattern, which may or may not be you also, but that would be kind of safety attachments. So this one's a little sneakier, but like so important to understand. Your nervous system might say it wants more clients, maybe a promotion, more intimacy, more visibility, more connection, healthier relationships, supportive boundaries. Hey, a dream vacation, some mind-blowing sex, a home remodel, like whatever the thing is, a new wardrobe, some awesome education and resources for your kids. Like maybe you want to just like embody the calm presentness of being a great parent. Maybe you just want to rock a strong, healthy body. Like you can name it, whatever resonates there. But underneath those dreams and those things that you really want, there's this part of you that sees that expansion and that abundance as dangerous. So what happens? You start procrastinating. You shrink right when it's time to step up. And like, who's ever gone to kind of voice one of those things that they really want and you feel it in your throat and then you just can't quite do it? The energy is like blocked. Chakras can get involved there too. And again, it goes back to that whole analogy of like, cleaning out a drawer or your email inbox or something instead of doing the thing that creates change. So you end up kind of ghosting opportunities, micromanaging, over controlling things. And it's not necessarily sabotage. We look at it that way, but it is a safety strategy that you have learned and implemented for yourself. Okay. I see a lot of people resonating with this. Tracy, this is so my pattern from childhood. Yep. Susie said I was conditioned that my value is measured by how I benefit others and negate myself. Yeah. It's big. It's big and it affects a lot of things. So yeah, I mean, I've seen this come up so many times. I had a client a few months ago who was like telling me that she wanted more clients, and every time somebody reached out, it was like so weird the way that like she would just get like kind of lazy or forgetful, she thought. Like that's how she was judging herself. Because she would say that like she wanted to respond and she wanted to take on new clients, but her nervous system didn't feel safe with like being seen. It didn't feel safe with following through on the opportunities to serve. It was safer for her to like work on creating a course that she hadn't sold yet, work on creating social media, even though she was often like too afraid to post it and it just kind of sat in a Google Drive. You know, that's how protective this subconscious stuff can be. And don't worry, we worked through it and she figured it out. She's responding to people when they email her now and all that kind of stuff. So there is a path through. We're just saying like these things show up in so many different ways for people. So in my book, I wrote, you can't heal or rise through force, only through safety. And that's the problem. So many of us are trying to force our way. I'll just push through this thing. I'll just, I know this pattern. I'm just going to push through it. It doesn't work that way. Which leads us to the third pattern. This is kind of looping identities. And this one's the quietest, but it's often the most stubborn. So this is like you're working so hard to grow into that new version of yourself, but deep down, you're operating from an old identity, okay? Because you think of yourself maybe as like the reliable one or the peacemaker or the anxious one or the one who never finishes, or maybe I'm not the kind of person who fill in the blank. Maybe some of those sound familiar, but the tricky part is that those identities aren't just thoughts. They're wired into your nervous system and they're reinforced through years of experience. So even when you want to take new action, part of you is still checking in with that old self. Part of you is still like, oh, hey, can I do that? Is that allowed? Will I still fit in? Will I still belong? And your nervous system, if your nervous system doesn't feel safe letting go of that old identity, it will pull you right back to it. So just pause and check in again here and, type in a 1 for the hustle conditioning, a 2 for the safety attachments, a 3 for the looping identities, or all of them. And just let me know what's feeling like it resonates the most with you. So there's a lot of different things happening here. A lot of 1s, a lot of 2s, some 3s. Okay, cool. All right. And if it's all 3, like just know like you're not alone, and it's not really any bigger problem than if it's one of them. I just kind of call that the like subconscious sabotage cocktail. Like, whoop, cheers. But it's just not like the kind of thing that goes down smooth, like coconut milk and pineapple and a splash of rum. It's more like lukewarm coffee and kale and spoiled oat milk or something. It's unsettling, right? It's confusing, and it's definitely not what your system needs. So if you've been kind of sipping on that blend lately, then we're going to mix up something new. Okay. Definitely not here to shame it, just to rewire it, because when you see the pattern and rework it on a mind body level, then you can stop being controlled by it. Right. And then you can start leading yourself differently.